You're listening to the Good Question Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Our goal is to make each of our guests exclaim, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Because when that happens, it means you, the listener, may be inspired to learn more beyond the interview and to ask great questions yourself that lead to new insights. In this podcast, we cover historical and current anthropology, comparative religion, and history. Welcome, and let's get started.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Good Question Podcast. My guest today is Miguel Bautista. He's the founder of CFS Recovery. We're going to talk about internal body tremors, vibrations, and trembling explained. I would guess it would be uncontrolled trembling. So welcome, Miguel. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be here. And before we jump in, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I've listened to your show and what you're building here, and it's something really special. So I just want to acknowledge you for that, because I know what you're doing isn't easy. It takes a lot of time and energy and hard work, but it impacts a lot of people. So really excited to be. Yeah. And Actually, last thing is for everybody listening right now, just do me a huge favor. Go leave a 5-star rating on this podcast. Just review on whatever platform you're tuning in from, so Richard can impact even more people. I already did mine over on Apple Podcasts the other day, so come join me. But a little bit about me. Yeah, my name is Miguel. I run CFS Recovery, and we help people recovering from not just internal vibrations and tremors, but just mysterious, debilitating symptoms like brain fog, where no matter how much they sleep, they wake up feeling mentally drained, or things like fatigue, where no matter how much they rest, they still feel like a zombie and just like, dragging through life. And it can feel really frustrating and hopeless for a lot of people. And, these people, they want nothing more than to go back to who they used to be. And they just really struggle to find answers that actually work from doctors sometimes. And they're told it's all in their head. So they get trapped.
I call traditional doctors, sometimes I call them idiopaths, because everything's idiopathic. They don't know where it comes from. But I guess, probably sadly, you've had a lot of personal experience with this, right? Well, what's your background?
Yeah. So I'm actually fully recovered myself from my own health issues. I actually personally dealt with 50 plus symptoms, fatigue, brain fog, headaches, migraines, burning sensations, palpitations, all that stuff. And at my worst, I was actually 21 years old, and I found myself completely bedridden for about 8 months. Lived with my grandparents, and I was even hospitalized. And then I had to learn to use a wheelchair, then a walker, and really had to build my life from scratch. And since then, that was about 8 years ago. Since then, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of individuals all around the world, dealing with the exact same thing. And what I'm most proud of is just seeing people cry those tears of gratitude just to be able to walk outside again without symptoms, or play sports again, or do fitness, or just show up for their family without worrying about flaring up. So it's been a crazy, crazy journey to get here. I had to go through like 30 or 40 specialists who looked at me like I was crazy. I tried the craziest supplements, craziest treatments, but luckily I was able to find something that worked for me. And today I'm living my best life. It's been a long journey to get here, which I'm happy to dive into.
Why do people get some of these strange problems like tremors or trembling or a feeling of vibrating? I mean, I know one guy that's a personal trainer that probably 2 weeks ago, he told me he was experiencing this exact thing. So where does this come from?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I actually used to be a personal trainer as well. That's when I got sick with this stuff. And really what happens is we got to realize, like, most people who get these kind of things, it's a certain personality type. And it usually, it's somebody who used to be the most driven, the most active person in their circle, someone who never sat still, always working, always moving, always showing up. Maybe they were a top performer at work or an athlete. And then something happened, maybe it was years of pushing too hard. Maybe they got a virus. Maybe there was, a death in the family, and maybe it was all of it at once. But essentially, it pushed their nervous system to it's almost like breaking point, where now they can barely make it through a shower without needing to lie down. Or maybe they've spent thousands on supplements and treatments, and every test is coming back normal. So they're sitting there thinking, oh, if nothing's wrong with me, why do I feel like I'm like slowly dying, essentially? So it really affects them, not just on a physical level, but even identity wise. Because if you're that person, like, for example, personal training or high performer, if you can't be that person you've always been, it's like, who are you? Right. So these people, these very, they used to be very busy people, very active, now they stop making plans because they don't know if their body's going to cooperate, or they've watched birthdays and holidays in life just happen from the sidelines. And they start to believe that this is just who they are now. So, it's a tricky situation to be in, but it really comes down to people kind of overflowing what their body can handle energy wise, because our nervous systems can only handle so much. Once you add too many stressors, you kind of reach that breaking point. You pass that threshold, and that's when your body starts giving you these silent signals to slow down, kind of like a car with its engine light turning on. And I wonder how many people watching this right now have continued to drive with the engine light on or something happening.
Oh, yeah.
Most people do, right? And it's not until the car actually starts breaking down where you're like, okay, I probably shouldn't ignore this. I should probably go get this checked out. But yeah, those symptoms in the beginning, it's kind of like the Christmas tree lights on the dashboard. But most type A personality people, they'll just try to push through. So we really try to educate people on that, on what's happening once it gets to that point of like, okay, it feels like the car is going to fall apart. It can be very anxiety inducing, but that's where a lot of the education comes in to help people, at least in the beginning stages of their journey.
So is this why these kind of problems are misdiagnosed, or just people are told they're hysterical or it's in their head? I mean, there's a lot of gaslighting. Is this just the body's way of trying to handle stresses that won't go away and it doesn't know how to cope? So weird shit starts happening, or what happens?
Yeah, essentially that's what it is. So, everybody's got a different threshold of stress their body can handle. And stress comes in many forms. There's different, I'd say, buckets. And we don't even have to call it stress. It's just stimulation for our brains and nervous systems. You got physical stimulation, you have cognitive stimulation, and then you have emotional. Most people don't realize how much cognitive and emotional stimulation hits their nervous system. But essentially, once you reach that breaking point, it's like, yeah, your brain, it's like a computer hitting its maximum RAM processing power. And it can't just tell you like, hey, we should slow down because, we've hit our max. It doesn't speak in that language. It speaks in very primal languages, right? Because you start to go into survival mode, and your brain essentially starts putting limiters on your body. So if you're pushing yourself physically, you're working out 6 days a week, taking pre-workout, not sleeping. Well, anytime you even try to do cardio or go upstairs, it's going to give you shortness of breath, palpitations. It's going to make your legs feel like they're giving out. Whereas like some people, let's say they work in an office and they're just burning the midnight oil, constantly working, you'll get a lot of brain fog, maybe some memory issues, memory recall, right? So there's different ways the brain pumps the brakes and forces you to slow down. But that's where most people get it wrong, is like they almost look at that as a challenge to overcome. It's like, oh, I'm feeling kind of weak today. Let me push through it. Let me champion through this with like blood, sweat, and tears. So that's another thing we try to teach people. But usually they try to push through until like they have more and more symptoms that compound. And that's when they find us and they realize what's really going on and how it's there to save them. It's meant to save them from themselves. But they feel like it's like a war going on in their body when it's actually trying to help you.
So when something comes to how do you analyze, you do blood work, what do you look for? Or what's your protocol on how you help people?
Yeah. So people usually find us in the later stages of their recovery journey. Here's what I see people do over and over again. And I want to be clear, like I did all of this myself. So I'm not judging anybody. Like this is the path most people take on this chronic illness journey, especially if the doctors can't figure out what's going on. Well, first they chase diagnosis, right? They go from specialist to specialist, hoping somebody's finally going to tell them what's wrong. They get all the blood work, the sleep studies, but the tests keep coming back normal. So now they don't just feel sick, they feel crazy, like they're making it up, right? So that's a dark place to be. And usually what happens next is they throw supplements and treatments at it. So hundreds, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars are spent on things that promise to fix their mitochondria or heal their gut. Maybe they get a little boost for a week, but then they're right back to where they started or worse, because now they've added this nothing works for me belief to their system. And then usually the final stage before they find us is they just try pushing through. They think, okay, well, if I just white knuckle through this, if I take my mentality I had most of my life, which is just, toughening up, mind over matter mentality and power through, they feel like they're just going to break out of it, but their body starts to punish them for it, right? So one good day leads to 3 bad days. and then they crash, and then they're just terrified of doing anything because they don't know what's going to happen in their body. And so when they find us, that's usually where they're at. And the thing is, all those other approaches, they only treat the symptoms, very surface level things. They don't actually address the source. And the source is, at least what we've found, is a nervous system that's just stuck in survival mode. It's almost like if our brains were computers, which they're kind of like supercomputers. It's almost like there's a glitch in that computer that's down regulating or putting limiters in the human body, putting limiters through symptoms. So we found that people are just stuck in this chronic threat response, right? But we try to teach people the body isn't broken. It's actually doing exactly what it's designed to do. And until we address that, until we teach the nervous system that it's safe to come out of survival mode, nothing else really sticks. Like the supplements don't stick. The treatments don't stick. The good days don't stick. But once you understand that, then that's really the starting point. And once people can logically grasp what's happening, as long as they've had their tests and scans done, that's when we can start building their personalized plans. We could do our nervous system health assessment with them to figure out where they're at. Like, what are their bottlenecks in recovery? What are their top symptoms? Where are they messing up the most? Right. And then we can cater a plan around that, no matter how crazy the situation is. Like I remember this one lady, Mary, she dealt with this. It was, I know her name was Marie. She dealt with this for, I'm not even kidding, 48 years of debilitating symptoms, ups and downs in her health.
Wow.
Saw every doctor in the books, didn't know what was going on. But once she understood it and we put together some kind of plan of activity, like, hey, Marie, do this much today, and then dial it back the next day. And next time we could go more and more. We build it up almost like a training program, but for her nervous system. And we had that support where she could message us anytime if things went off the rails. Like, she made a recovery. And yeah, she's one of the people up on our YouTube channels. She had this for a long time, but now she's hiking, no problems.
But who doesn't recover that actually earnestly tries? Is there anybody, or does this pretty much work as long as you put the work in?
No, that's a great question. There definitely are people who don't recover, but we really try to only bring in people who are perfect fits. So, for example, this is not for somebody who wants a magic pill or a quick fix. Like, I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make is thinking that it's going to be an external source, external resource that fixes them. But once you accept that, okay, the doctor's probably not coming to save me. A magic pill probably isn't coming to save me. Like, I have to fix this myself because the glitch is internal. And the only person who can update that, I guess, supercomputer software is you. You know, if people are willing to take on that responsibility, and it's a big responsibility, and know that nothing's going to cure them overnight with no effort, or they're not looking for quick fixes, and they're not open to this kind of stuff, it'll be very difficult for these things to work. So they need to be open to these kind of ideas and willing to accept that responsibility of like, okay, nobody's going to update the software other than me. But those are the people who do the best, who are willing to do those. And I've never seen it not work for somebody who did come in with that mindset.
Well, yeah, you mentioned tremor in the beginning. Is that a very common maladaptation to stress, or are there other kinds like exhaustion? Like, what are some of the most common ones?
Yeah, some of the most common ones is brain fog for sure. It's like you just don't feel as sharp during the day, and you even have this afternoon lull where 2, 3, 4 p.m. comes around the corner and you just feel like a zombie. Like, you can't really think straight. You're reaching for that third cup of coffee. And even that barely gets you functional. So there's brain fog, there's fatigue where, you know, you just feel extra heavy. You feel like everything is just harder, almost like somebody turned the gravity up on the atmosphere. Like, everything's just more difficult. Groceries feel heavier, you know, and then internal tremors. This is huge as well. And this kind of ties into some insomnia people have. These all are kind of like the early signs. These are what people usually get first. And the tremors, it's like, it's twitching. It's almost feeling like you're shivering internally. But the crazy part is, you know, there were times when I would call this out to family members. I'm like, am I shaking? I feel like there's an earthquake, and they would look at me like I was crazy because I was sitting perfectly still, but our nervous system feels it. And it's actually, that's like the most viewed video on my YouTube channel. I think there's like 300,000 views at this point because so many people experience it, but nobody talks about it. So these people feel like they're going crazy. And the thing is, if you go and Google a lot of these symptoms, especially that one, you'll think you got early onset dementia with brain fog, or you'll think you have early onset of Parkinson's with the tremors.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So people fall into this loop. Yeah.
So what's a typical protocol? You get people tested. What kinds of things do you find that tell you that, okay, we better change this and that about their diet?
Yeah. So number one on the front end, it's, making sure people have done their tests and scans. They've seen doctors. Usually they get referred out to specialists. And if they're still dealing with these symptoms that are getting in the way of life and the doctors are like, yeah, on paper, you're perfectly fine, they kind of just send you your own way. So we make sure everybody's actually done that due diligence. But we've actually developed a proprietary software. It's a nervous system health assessment. So based on working with thousands of people, like we just saw this pattern and we kind of mapped it out. We said, what are the commonalities with people who deal with these things based on their symptoms, their length of illness, based on how severe they were in their illness. And we've created the software. So people come in, first they do a diagnostic assessment. We could really pinpoint what are their roadblocks. Right. And from so many data points, we can actually project a timeline for recovery. And it's more like a window. It's not exact. We can't guarantee timelines, but we can show an approximate window based on thousands of other people with those same symptoms, with those roadblocks, with that severity, who also recovered. So once we do that, then obviously we want to make sure they know it's not an overnight fix. They know that there's some manual work involved in terms of updating that software in their brain. And if they're down for that and ready to go all in, and they can come to at least a couple group calls a week and follow their plan, it doesn't have to be perfect too. If they follow at least half of the stuff we tell them to do, then they do really well. But yeah, it's very, very specific in terms of what we look at, just because we want to make sure the people we do work with can actually get better. And usually we actually just tell them, hey, watch your free YouTube videos. We have like 2,000 free YouTube videos in depth of everything we do. They're really just coming to us for help for the more personalized plans.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I don't know. Are there other practitioners do you think that have the same efficacy as you, or are you like one of the few? Have you dealt with other like functional medicine doctors and, seen what they do and compared it to your systems to make it better?
Yeah. So the biggest difference between us and functional medicine doctors or other clinics is we don't use medication. We don't rely on it. It's all neuroplasticity. We actually call it neuroplastic therapy because it's kind of a mix between like physiotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and emotional processing, all kind of built into one. And we've actually had a lot, I would say maybe not a lot, like a handful, about a dozen doctors, psychiatrists, physiotherapists, even nurses come to us for help and actually had long COVID or chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or burnout. And they come to us for help because even their colleagues had no idea what was going on. So I would say we're kind of the outliers in terms of conventional medicine. We're definitely outside the box, but they liked us because it was very specific to what they were dealing with. So most people don't even know what chronic fatigue syndrome is or long COVID or fibromyalgia, but that is like exactly what we specialize in. So we even had doctors and psychiatrists or psychologists come to us. There was a lady, I just did her recovery interview. She's 87 years old. She had her PhD in psychology, and she used to be a psychology professor. And she didn't know what was going on. She had this for a long time, but she fully recovered, So it's cool to see. And those people actually understand the concepts even more sometimes because they just need the right information. They're very smart people. And most people who get this, the reason they get it is because their brains are too smart. It's working on overdrive. So once it clicks, they can actually make great, great progress once it just makes logical sense of what to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What is the protocol? Diet, exercise, both, like meditation, what are like the main core elements of a recovery?
Yeah, it's a mix of those things. So when we are creating personalized plans for people, the problem most people run into is the plans they get from online or whoever they're working with. It's usually very general, and it's usually like, hey, here's stuff to do, and let's try this for a month or try it for 2 weeks. The way we approach it is we're talking with our people every day, Monday to Friday. We're checking in. We're seeing how their body's responding in real time to the personalized plan. And in the personalized plan, we work on things like what are they doing physically, right? How, for example, if someone's really severe, how many times are they hopping in their car and driving throughout the day? How many times are they getting out of bed throughout the day? How many days a week can they take a shower? Because one too many is going to put them in bed for another 3 weeks. So it really depends on the severity level, but we really look at their physical activity. The next thing is 3 areas. The first thing is physical. Second thing is cognitively. How much are you looking at your phone? How much are you conversing with people? How much are you using your brain? So we want to, control that. And the third is emotional. And most people, they are hyper emotional in fear, anxiety. They almost become like hypochondriacs, because when you're feeling symptoms every day and you don't have an explanation, you really do feel like you're dying. You really do feel like I need to pick up 911 or pick up the phone and dial 911 right now because I feel like I'm going to die. So when we work on those 3 areas, physical, cognitive, and emotional, that's what helps people gain a lot of traction. And we also update their plans in real time. So sometimes if someone's having a flare-up day, we'll dial it back on the things they do. But the biggest reason this helps is it's adaptable to where they're at right now, and it's in real time, and they know they can trust us because our whole team has actually been through this. I've been through this. Almost everybody on our team has been through this. Even people who aren't the coaches, the people on the operations side, or even on the sales team, or enrollment team, they've actually been through this. So everybody understands what these people are going through, and we're very sensitive to that. We really don't push people outside their comfort zone like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Are a lot of people that come to you of faith, or what's their spiritual outlook? Is there any correlation between them coming to you or the benefits and them having some kind of faith or not?
Yeah, we've definitely had quite a few people come through like that. And a lot of them they're very thankful. And a lot of them say hey, this was a perfect time we found you guys. I was asking God for a message or a sign or something to grab onto. And literally the next day we found you guys. So yeah, there's been a ton of that. And we'll actually sometimes, it's really interesting, we'll build that in to their plan. For example, there's this lady, very, very faith-focused. She was terrified of her heart palpitations and her panic attacks. And even though she went to the emergency room dozens of times, we would start to bake in Bible verses into her plan of hey, you already had the stuff checked out. Your heart's on paper perfectly fine. So when you feel that again, I can't remember the verse, but we would be repeat this Bible verse, or remember this story in the Bible where they did this, and it's trust in the Lord or something like that, where it resonated with them or her specifically. So we're trying to build any of that kind of personalized stuff into their plan so it works as well as possible. But for sure, there's definitely some people who really rely on faith, and we try to bake that in for them.
This sounds practical and it works. And is there any drawbacks, any difficulty to what you do? Is compliance makes it difficult? What makes not everyone succeed?
Yeah. So I think what makes not everybody succeed, it goes back to just making sure we're bringing the right people in. And over the years, we've gotten better at that. I think in the beginning, we just wanted to help so many people and everybody who reached out to us for help, but there were certain situations where if someone's got fibromyalgia and they have some other issues going on, we can't fix all of those other issues. We could definitely help with the fibromyalgia stuff. So sometimes there are more things going on and there's some crossover. So we've just gotten much better at screening for that. And nowadays we really try to have people go through this process. It's almost like an application process just to see if we can actually help them. Because the last thing we want to do, and it's because we've been through this ourselves, we've been to so many practitioners and, alternative health clinics who promised us the world. We paid this money and it didn't work out. So last thing we want to do is do that to people. So we do that nervous system health assessment. We have them watch a whole bunch of our videos. We tell them pretty much our whole approach to things, and we have to talk to somebody in real life. And then if it's a good fit, we would slot them into, some kind of solution we have. We have different solutions for people or different programs, but if people want that one-on-one help, they really got to be a good fit for something like that and be ready to show up and, follow the plan to the best of their ability. And they have to be open-minded to the fact that, hey, I think I could actually fix this. And I think I can do this without a magical pill, or I know that some doctor's not going to come and save me. I have to save myself. So those people who have that mentality, those are the people who do the best. The people with victim mentalities, or they say, oh, there's nothing I could do, I'm doomed for life, maybe this will help. That usually doesn't work.
I don't know, what are some of the stumbling blocks that come along the way when someone enters treatment with you, let's say in the first week or the first month? When do people fall out and why?
Yeah. So one of the things that can become a big challenge is a lot of people feel like, they can't take anything more on their plate, or they can't put anything more on their plate because they're already so maxed out. They can't put any more energy into recovering. So a lot of people feel like recovery requires more energy, and energy that they don't have to even start. So they hit what they feel is like rock bottom because they're not just physically depleted. They're like emotionally and mentally bankrupt, right? So they think I'm already maxed out. If I spend any more energy on something like this, my body it's already tanked. It will definitely just internally implode. But with that thought process, a lot of people can feel kind of hopeless or just overwhelmed at the thought of doing one more thing. So they start to feel kind of helpless. Like, I've tried so many things before that drained me. Why would I put more effort into something, get my hopes up, only to be disappointed? So a lot of people, they can struggle in the beginning because they're like, is it worth the energy input for this? Like, is it going to take so much energy? I thought the same thing when my doctor taught me this. And actually, side note, like, I was very resistant to these ideas when I was in the middle of my illness. The only reason that I even tried this is because I was at rock bottom and nothing was working. I was getting spoon fed in the hospital. I couldn't move in bed. I had to wear a blindfold and earplugs all day. And this went on for months. And it got to the point where they were going to send me home from the ICU, intensive care unit. They were like, Miguel, your tests are normal. There's nothing wrong with you. So we can either send you home in an ambulance or whatever, and you can come back every day to work with another doctor. Or, this is crazy, like, they said they have extra rooms in the psychiatric ward. And I said, guys, I'm not crazy. Why would you send me there? They said, no, there's just extra beds. You'd be able to work with a psychiatrist there because that's the only reason you'd be feeling these symptoms. It has to do with the brain. It's not with the body. And at that point, I was so rock bottom that I said, okay, sure, I'm willing to do anything. Let's bring me there. I don't care. I'll try anything at this point. And that's what made me open to these ideas. And that's what my doctor pretty much taught me all these principles. He drew on a whiteboard. He drew diagrams on papers so I could really internalize it. And once it made sense, there was a path forward. So I thought that I didn't have any more energy to put into this thing because I really didn't when I was in the hospital. But learning these things and having these mind shifts actually gave me energy. They didn't drain me of it. So my body actually, it started to have more energy and have less pain and symptoms as I made some of these internal shifts, mental and emotional wise. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. Like, we take that into mind. Like, for example, the videos are very short, and the calls we have with people, we tell them, hey, put the volume on silent. You could turn your camera off. Don't look at the screen the whole time. Just because we take these things into account, that's what people are really worried about. And there's a lot of resistance in the beginning because they're like, am I just going to crash after I hop on a Zoom call? But you actually gain energy once you start implementing these things.
What's next for your clinic? Is it just serve as many people as you can, or are there particular ailments or geographies or populations you want to serve?
Definitely, long COVID is a huge population. It's a growing population, and they don't really have a worldwide solution for it. So there's a lot of people that need help. Right now, it's reaching as many people as possible, but also we're trying to build in some technology on the back end to help with the personalized plan side of things, especially with AI and just being able to serve as many people with a high level of service. We haven't built it in yet, but eventually, yeah, we want to partner with clinics and all those people for the clients that they can't help, because we get a lot of clients who were sick for years and then they get better with us. And now their doctor is so confused how they stopped taking medication and how they recovered. And then they reach out to us. We show them what we do and they're like, man, we wish we knew about this before. Because I love doctors. I think they're great for society, even functional health people. There are certain ailments people have where I think absolutely they shouldn't come to us. They should definitely go to the doctors. But when it comes to long COVID and fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, then I would say that's where we really shine. And that is our specialty.
Interesting. What about is there any point in trying to get into hospitals? So you do some protocols to just alleviate a little bit of what people are going through, because the hospitals suck.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Some people try that and basically they just get sent home with a bag of medication and they're like, yeah, take this, try taking this for 6 months. If you still feel the same, then come back. There was one time I was so sick. I was throwing up. I couldn't even go to the washroom. So my brother, he picked me up, brought me to the hospital, to the emergency room. I had to sit there with a blindfold and earplugs. I couldn't move. And then, no, it wasn't the hospital. It was a neurologist specialist office at the hospital. And then he was shining lights in my eyes. And he said, yeah, well, nothing is wrong. Actually, you seem okay neurologically. Meanwhile, I was 21 years old, couldn't walk. My brother brought me in there on his shoulders, and like they didn't see that red flag. And so many instances where that happened where I'm obviously not okay. And they were like, yeah, you're fine. Just go home. And I've heard that story literally thousands of times. It breaks my heart.
Gaslighting,
Yeah, breaks my heart. But that's why, I work so hard and the team is working so hard, because we know what it's like to go through that. But we also know that it can be fixed if we just get this information out to people.
Well, very good. What's the best way for people to get in touch that want to get help? Where can they go?
Yeah, so I actually created a great resource for people. Well, one, if they just want to watch content right away, it's go to the CFS Recovery YouTube channel. In terms of a more specific resource, Richard, one thing I love about what you do is you're constantly showing up for your audience, giving massive value, getting some great speakers on here. So that inspired me to do the same in terms of giving these people value. So I'm going to give everybody listening here something I've literally never offered before. It's something that we only reserve for our highest level premium members. My clients might actually be upset that I'm giving this away, but I wanted to over deliver for your audience. It's called the Recovery Roadmap Protocol. It's completely free. It's like I said earlier, it's not for somebody looking for a quick fix or magic pill. It's not for somebody who is closed-minded. It's for somebody who is dealing with symptoms that can't be explained, who knows there's people getting better from this and is willing to try new things. So if someone's dealing with symptoms that can't be explained and they're feeling really confused and frustrated, this is for them, right? Because what most people don't realize, recovery isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things at the right stage, at the right time. And if you don't know what stage you're in, you can just end up wasting precious energy or making things worse without even realizing it. So here's what you have access to in the Recovery Roadmap Protocol. Part 1, it's called a recovery stage identifier. It's a short diagnostic assessment that shows you exactly where your nervous system sits on this severity scale. And also it's going to show you why what you've been doing probably hasn't worked and what you should probably focus on and prioritize. For most people, that alone is the biggest relief they felt in months, because there's no more guessing and no more trial and error. There's just a lot more clarity. But part 2 is what I'm most excited about. And honestly, I debated whether to include this. This is the personalized recovery report. So it's the exact internal tool we use with our clients. It's a detailed, personalized analysis based on, your situation that maps out your specific symptoms, your patterns, and so many other factors that keep the nervous system stuck, and shows you what you need to change, what you need to double down on, and the order of those changes. So it's like a decision-making framework for recovery, but I've set up a page specifically for this podcast. For you guys listening right now, it's at www.cfsrecovery.co/genius. That is a special link. So if you want access to both of those, the recovery stage identifier and the personalized recovery report, cfsrecovery.co/genius, and you'll be able to get immediate access to that.
Well, it's very generous of you, Miguel. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And I encourage listeners to go and to engage with your material, because, so many people are suffering with strange things. They just don't know how to address it or what's wrong with them. And yeah, a lot of people, I think, just give up. Oh, I'm getting old. Oh, I'm 55. I'm 60. I'm whatever it is. Or I've had this for a year now. I'm just stuck with it. So I'm glad that you're a ray of hope for people. And I would guess you would say no one's too far gone. Or is it possible to be?
Absolutely not. We've had people bedridden in dark rooms for years, and now they're skiing down mountains, literally traveling around the world. So absolutely not. There's always hope.
Excellent. Miguel, thanks so much again for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to the Good Question Podcast. Please email support@thegoodquestionpodcast.com if you have any referrals to great guests for us to interview. Visit thegoodquestionpodcast.com to hear more interviews. And please help us spread the word by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to this podcast.